Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, today they had hearings on Capitol Hill about the war and the cost of the war. And they estimated at 25 billion dollars. And of course, the taxpayers are going to have to pay as if there's money to do that. So, anyway, Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are really the ones responsible for the entire globe paying higher prices everywhere. And, of course, they think it's nothing. So you're going to see Pete Hegseth speaking at a hearing, and they don't care. They seriously don't care what this is doing to the taxpayers. That's why gas went up 50 cents overnight. And don't be surprised if that happens again. We are approaching summer. And when we get closer and closer to summer, yeah, it's going to be several spikes going on. And people are really going to be upset. I mean, what can you do? Some people have to get around in their cars, to go to work, and every job is not close to public transportation. So, if you're fortunate and you can catch a train or something to get to work, that's great. But many people are not in that position. I know the last time I worked out there in corporate America, I would never have gotten to my job unless I had a car to drive. If I didn't have a car, I would never have been able to make it with public transportation. It just didn't go near where I worked. So it's going to be a tough summer. You can tell. I mean, look at how people are complaining about the inflation now. Man, when summer gets here and it spikes up higher and higher, it's going to get worse. So, $25 billion for what? For something that should never have happened? All right, let me share. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
Has spent 25 billion of the American citizens' taxpayer dollars. 25 billion of American taxpayer dollars on the Iran war so far. 25 billion of our dollars on the Iran war so far. $25 billion as of today on the Iran war. Did y'all hear me? $25 billion as of today on the Iran war. Your president has spent $25 billion of the United States of American citizens' taxpayer money as of today.
Good afternoon, America. Wake the fuck up. If you're not up already, guess what? I'm about to ruin your fucking day. And if you are fucking up, I'm about to ruin your day even more. So remember when I told you bitches that we was going to have a bill that we was going to have to pay for at the end of this war? Yeah, you guys were sitting there. I remember like 2-3 weeks ago, you guys were sitting there clapping. Ooh, oh my God, the B-2 bombers. Oh my God, the fighter jets. This is what America's the #1 military in the world for. This is why we pay so much money. Oh my God, look at this equipment. It's dodging all the missiles. Oh my God. So as of 6 minutes ago, the cost estimation just came in. And this war between U.S. and Iran and Israel has costed the American government, $25 billion. The war in Iran has costed us $25 billion. Do you got $25 billion? Because I bet you all of us together don't. Our country's already in debt. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. 20% of our oil is gone. 20% of our economic value gone. Gas prices are rising. Food shortages are rising. The price of food, the price of imports are rising. They're even doing gas payments. If you're getting shipped things here, they're adding tax. Then we have a $25 billion bill that we're going to have to pay for when this is over. And who you think that's coming out of? Congratulations. We're in a fucked up situation.
Well, as our comptroller laid out, the estimate is less than $25 billion at this point as far as an expenditure. And the question I would ask this committee is, what is it worth to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon, considering the radical ambitions of that regime? I mean, almost every member of this dais at some point has said, whether it was
thank you for your answer. I'll proceed to
Iran
my
can
next
never have
question.
a nuclear weapon.
Thank you for your answer.
President Trump was the one that's willing to make sure it doesn't happen.
So
We have not yet received from the Pentagon the costs of the war. Do you have either A, a cost estimate coming to us anytime soon, or B, a specific supplemental request?
So approximately at this day, we're spending about $25 billion on Operation Epic Fury. Most of that is munitions. There's part of that is obviously O&M and equipment replacement. We will formulate a supplemental through the White House that will come to Congress once we have a full assessment of the cost of the conflict.
Sure. So you're saying the full cost at this point is $25 billion?
Yeah, that's our estimate for the cost.
Okay. Interesting, because I'm glad you answered that question, because we've been asking for a hell of a.
For the first time, we are hearing about the cost of the war with Iran. And of course, as you can imagine, it's a lot of money. So far, $25 billion, according to the Pentagon, and most of this money has been spent on munitions, things like equipment and rockets. And for the first time since the war began, the head of the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, took questions from lawmakers. And as you can guess, things got a little heated.
You know how much it will cost Americans in terms of their increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war?
I would simply ask you what the cost is of an Iranian nuclear bomb.
I'm going to give you that opportunity.
I would simply ask you what you're playing gotcha questions about
no,
domestic things. I'm not.
You're saying it's a gotcha question to ask what it's going to be in terms of the increased
Why
cost
won't
of
you
gas
answer what
and
it costs to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb?
I give you that, sir. But let me.
What would it cost? What would you pay to ensure Iran doesn't get a nuclear bomb? What would you pay?
I reclaim my time.
In the meantime, diplomacy between the two countries has essentially stalled. And this morning, Trump posted an image of himself saying, "No more Mr. Nice Guy."
I'd love to get some straightforward answers today. Some estimates show that the Trump administration's war of choice in Iran is costing taxpayers around $1 billion every day. In addition to spending taxpayer money on a war they don't want, it is also driving up costs. The cost of gas, while the cost of living is skyrocketing under this administration's policies. To me, and I assume to the American people, it is unclear why we started this war, how it will end, and what anyone gained from it. Mr. Hegseth, about how much money has been spent on this war to date, and how much more do you anticipate spending?
Well, as our comptroller laid out, the estimate is less than $25 billion at this point as far as an expenditure. And the question I would ask this committee is, what is it worth to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon?
We had taken care of the nuclear capability last time around. And now this war, we're at it again, because obviously we said we did, but we didn't.
In a way that
we know,
the United States military can do.
I want to reclaim my time. We know that the cost of oil and gas has gone up as a direct result of this war, and the American people are feeling that pain at the pump. In an attempt to alleviate the high price of gas caused directly by this president, he lifted sanctions on Russian oil. The way I see it, this is a massive gift to Putin and Russia's struggling economy. Mr. Hegseth, is there any concern that easing sanctions against Russia will allow Putin to continue funding Russia's illegal war against Ukraine?
We've seen Russia's and Putin's inability to make effective battlefield gains, just like their inability to defend the Maduro regime with the billions of dollars of systems the Russians sent to Venezuela in order to defend him, which were defeated in 15 minutes. So Russia's military capabilities are no match for ours.
And you don't believe easing the sanctions is helping Russia?
Well, we have the best energy team in the planet at
it's just a yes or no.
House, so we're going to ensure that
this is not deja vu. Mr. Hegseth, I stand by what I said last time you were here. You were incompetent then, you're incompetent now, and you're the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to incompetence. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
This just in, the Pentagon just revealed that the Iran war has already cost the United States at least $25 billion. And Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth refused to say how much higher that number could climb.
So approximately at this day, we're spending about $25 billion on Operation Epic Fury.
During the tense hearing before the House Armed Services Committee happening as we speak, the Trump administration defended both the ongoing war effort and a proposed $1.45 trillion Pentagon budget, which would be the largest military budget in modern U.S. history.
How much it will cost Americans in terms of their increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war? That
I would simply ask you what you're playing gotcha questions about domestic things. I'm not.
You're saying it's a gotcha question to ask what it's going to be in terms of the increased
Why
cost
won't
of
you
gas?
ask?
According to Pentagon Controller Jay Hurst, most of that $25 billion has already been burned through on bombs and missiles after 2 months of fighting.
Most of that is munitions. There's part of that. It's obviously O&M and equipment replacement. We will formulate a supplemental through the White House that will come to Congress once we have a full assessment of the cost of the conflict.
Sure. Okay. So you're saying the full cost at this point is $25 billion.
Yeah, that's our estimate for the cost.
Okay. Interesting. Because I'm glad you answered that question because we've been asking for a hell of a long time and no one's given us the number.
And lawmakers from both parties pressed Hegseth over what the war has actually accomplished.
Do you think we're winning?
Militarily on the battlefield, it's been an astounding military success.
No, but are we winning the war?
Absolutely.
Okay, so do you call Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz winning?
Well, I would say the blockade that we hold that doesn't allow anything to come in or out of Iranian ports.
Okay, so we blockaded their blockade. So they blockaded us, and then we blockaded their blockade. That's like saying tag, you're it. Or, if President Madison had said, well, the British just burned down Washington, but don't worry, we're going to burn it down as well.
Representative Adam Smith, for instance, questioned why the administration keeps claiming Iran's nuclear program was obliterated if officials are simultaneously arguing that Iran still poses a nuclear threat.
Well, their nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Underground, they're buried and watching 24/7. So we know where any nuclear...
We had to start this war, you just said, 60 days ago, because the nuclear weapon was an imminent threat. Now you're saying that it was completely obliterated?
They had not given up their nuclear ambition. And they thousands
So
of...
Operation Midnight Hammer accomplished nothing of substance. It left us at exactly the same place we were before.
Meanwhile, Pentagon intelligence estimates reportedly suggest Iran could eventually recover as much as 70% of its pre-war missile arsenal. And one of the most explosive moments came when Hegseth was confronted over past comments suggesting that American troops would show, quote, no quarter to enemies, which is a phrase that historically means refusing to spare surrendering combatants.
In order for no quarter or no survivors is a war crime under the Geneva Conventions. Do you stand by that statement?
The Department of War fights to win.
The hearing also exposed growing tension between the administration and military leadership itself. Republican Representative Don Bacon criticized Hegseth for firing multiple senior officials, warning of bipartisan concern over these shakeups. And outside the hearing room, protesters shouted war criminal and arrest Hegseth, while one demonstrator appeared covered in fake blood. And despite all of this, the administration is now asking Congress to massively expand military spending even further, arguing that the U.S. must move onto what Hegseth called a wartime footing. If the administration still cannot clearly define what victory looks like after 2 months of war, how much higher is the price tag, financially, politically, and militarily, going to get?
So Petey Boy, Pete Hegseth, is sitting before the House Armed Services Committee this morning having a conversation, which is regular business. It's a part of the checks and balances, having a conversation about what's going on with the military and what's happening with Iran, so on and so forth. Now, they have finally been able to give us, the American people, a number of what it has cost for the war in Iran over the past 2 months. And that number is a whopping $25 billion. Ooh, Jesus, help us, God. So what I want to do, because I feel like knowledge is power, let's look at what $25 billion could actually do for the American people. $25 billion could provide free school lunches for all 30 million eligible children for one entire school year. $25 billion could cover full Medicaid health insurance for 3.1 million Americans for 1 year. $25 billion could finance universal pre-K for approximately 2 million children in our country for an entire year. You would be surprised how many states do not have UPK as a requirement for their children. And yet, studies show that the sooner children are exposed to education and socialization, the better they do. But okay, let's keep going. Let's talk housing. $25 billion could provide annual rental assistance for 1.2 million people. And on and on and on we go. The list goes on. Cancer research could be funded. Training new nurses because we have a national shortage could be funded. National parks fully funded for the next 7 years at that amount. I mean, I believe the children are our future.
Ladies and gentlemen, America will be gone in no time. Look at how badly managed. And you know what I'm amazed at? We know the sailors and the soldiers are starving, and they didn't even bring this up in the hearing. Interesting. So we know all $25 billion went into munitions and not food. That's all they were concerned about. Oh boy. This is what happens when you don't, you want people in your cabinet that have no knowledge, and you're just looking for butt kissers instead of professional people that know how to do that job. None of them are qualified. Pete Hegseth, he's not qualified. Kash Patel is not qualified. None of them are. None of them are. You know, for people that love talking about how much y'all hate DEI, y'all sure love hiring incompetent white people or white adjacent people. It's like that's okay to get in a job and not know what the hell you're doing. That's perfectly fine. Sounds like a bunch of hypocritical bullshit to me. But y'all, I think this is a disgrace. This could not happen at a worse time when the country is already struggling. And it's not going to get better. Even Donald Trump has said the situation in this country is not going to get better. So, y'all, we just going to have to fend for ourselves. We know this government surely ain't going to hurt. They ain't going to do shit for us. We already know that. This government ain't going to help us. But the ones that are used to being pampered and catered to, you buckle up because you're going to be in for a ride, for real. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. And be on the lookout for my lives tomorrow. Shalom, family.